Hey, what's up, guys? Back here for the Week 3 podcast. I had to take a quick hiatus last week. A week that saw Sean dominate and Jordan and Willie battle it out in this year's first Suckfest. But we're moving on to Week 3. It's a big week. Saw a couple of undefeated teams fall and some winless teams get their first W's. So let's just get right into it. All right, so we're going to start it off with the high score of the week, which was Joey, 163.9, facing off against Barnsy's low score of the week, 95.2. You know, anytime Barnsey gets the low score of the week, you're going to have a good week. Joey had Rodgers go crazy, McCoy go crazy, Antonio Brown went off, and then Kansas City defense was his high score, 36 points. Anytime you get 36 points for your defense, you're in pretty good shape. Meanwhile, Barnsey, outside of Mike Evans, pretty much no one on his team did much of anything. It was a rough week for the Barnacle. And then we're going to move on to the best matchup of the week, which was Garrett overtaking Dave on Monday night, 153.5 to 146.4. Dave had a great week, third highest score of the week, but unfortunately for him, he had to face off against the second highest score of the week in Garrett. Garrett went into the Monday night with three players going, and he was down by like 50 points or something. But obviously was able to come back and put up a lot of points thanks to Mark Ingram and Tevin Coleman. Dave had Kelvin Benjamin put up a goose egg for him, which really hurt him. He probably could have won if Kelvin Benjamin just had an average game. And next we will move on to Steve overtaking John, 125.4 to 111.9. Steve had a pretty pedestrian week too, except Doug Baldwin and Jarvis Landry both had big weeks for him. John, Christine Michael, a big waiver wire pickup for him, put up big numbers. But outside of that, everyone else was pretty average for him. And then so just not enough to get it done. Then we'll move on to my matchup with Jordan. I was able to get my first W of the season with 119.6 against Jordan's 96.6. Jordan's had two pretty rough weeks in a row after starting off the season great. I had DeMarco Murray, who's been my savior, come through for me, and Matt Ryan, as well as New England's defense putting up 18 for me. I also had Todd Gurley on my bench, but he finally did good, which is a great sign for me. Meanwhile, Jordan left Emmanuel Sanders on his bench, which killed him. Other than that, Jordy Nelson was the only person who really did much of anything for Jordan. So another rough week for him. And then finally, we'll move on to Willie for the second week in a row, gargling some nuts, and Sean was able to get his third win to be the only team that's undefeated left in our league, 106 to 96.1. Willie was looking awful. He actually got his score up to a somewhat respectable thanks to Drew Brees putting up 31 for him, but other than that, he was pretty dreadful. Sean pretty much rode the back of Steve Smith and Jeremy Hill to get him to 1.6, which usually won't get you a win, but I'm sure Sean will take it. So remains undefeated, and that's the way Week 3 shaped up. I'm sexy and I know it. All right, this week we had an easy choice for stud of the week. Got to give it to Joey's Kansas City defense. They scored 36 points, which was more than any player, regardless of position, in anyone's starting roster this whole week. So anytime that happens, you got to show the D some love, which I realize sounds mad gay now that I say it out loud. I got to show the D some love. But anyway, yeah, I mean, 36 points from defense. How can you overcome that? Even if Barnesy had a good week, he would have had a tough time beating that D. Beating that D. All right, so this week I mentioned it earlier in the review. The dud of the week is going to go to Kelvin Benjamin, who put up a big goose egg for Dave. All he had to do was have just an average week, 4 catches for 40 yards, and that would have been enough to beat Garrett. But instead, Dave goes down because of it. And I also want to give a rare honorable mention to Ryan Fitzpatrick, who no one has on their team, but he was so, especially Dudley this week that I had to give him a shout out. 6 interceptions. Put up a negative 1.2 at the quarterback position, just dreadful. So I always love to call out the Jets, so I had to make sure you got in there. I got you, babe. I got. All right, the waiver wire pickup was also an easy decision for this week. It's gonna go to John for getting Kristen or Christine Michael. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he is the running back in Seattle, and now with Rawls out and Russell Wilson hobbling around he doesn't have any legs really. Both of his legs are hurt. So with that happening, Christine Michael should have a big workload. So good pickup. He went off this week and looks like he has a lot of upside for the coming weeks. All right, the Bad Move Award is an award I'll give to someone who makes a shitty decision on who to bench or play, and it cost them a game. This week it's going to go to Jordan for keeping Manny Sanders on the bench and his 32.7 points. He fell into that Stephon Diggs trap. Stephon Diggs went crazy last week. Jordan puts him in over Sanders, and then Diggs only puts up 8 points. So that could have been the difference in our matchup with Jordan. And also, I just want to take a second to make a stat correction. And the stud of the week, I said that KC's defense had the high score. They actually had the second high score. Marvin Jones for Dave put up 38.5 points, which I didn't realize. I'm still going to keep KC as the stud of the week because 36 points from a defense is still nasty, but a great week for Marvin Jones too. This week, the Willie Hooper Dumb Luck Award is actually being presented by Willie. He's giving it rather than receiving it. He lost to Sean by 10 points. Sean only put up 106, but still gets a freebie win to remain undefeated. Willie, 96.1. He only wound up losing by about 10 points, but that doesn't tell the whole story. The score doesn't tell the whole story. His team was pretty sad this week. Just like, I felt like one of those Sarah McLachlan songs that plays over those ASPCA battered pet commercials. Should have been playing over his team all Sunday. It was just really, really sad. This one's pretty obvious as well. Shitty Luck Award goes to Dave. Put up 146 points against bitter rival Garrett, and it still wasn't enough. So Dave goes to 1-2 despite having the most points total in the league, and Garrett gets his first win. Man, I feel like a woman. Okay, so this week in the Jordan Squats While He Pees Award, aka what really grinds my gears or whatever you want to call it, we give it to Randall Cobb of the Green Bay Packers, who's been doing me dirty for about a year and 3 weeks now. I figured this year he'd have a comeback year with Jordy Nelson back. Figured it takes the pressure off of him. A lot of coverage goes over to Jordy. Nope, Jordy continues to crush even though he's double covered, while Randall Cobb gets a couple catches a game. Killing me. Just been toying with my emotions for, like I said, over a year now. Hate that guy.
This is so exciting.
Alright, and so we finally reach our last award. This week's premier matchup is going to be the battle of the Trap House All-Stars. 2-1 Barnsey versus 2-1 Steve. Head-to-head interdivisional rivalry. Going to be a lot of tension in that Trap House, a lot of smack talk. See if Barnsey has a blow-up. It's going to be a good week. Alright, so that's the Week 3 review, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. It went a little longer than I expected, but it's a good week. Only one undefeated team left already. No winless teams. A lot of parity, a lot of jumbled up teams, just like I predicted in the draft review. So it's going to be a good season, I think. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So good luck in Week 4.